Okay, so we are here to talk about using data to improve cyber readiness. And to help us with that, we are joined by Carolyn Duby from Cloudera. Carolyn is Cloudera's field CTO. Thanks for being here, Carolyn.
Thanks for having me.
So lay the groundwork for me. Kind of what do you see as kind of the big challenges that agencies are facing when it comes to cybersecurity? What's the problem we're trying to address here?
So there are actually two drivers in that are happening right now in the world. One is that the pace of digital transformation in pretty much every sector, even the most basic things, if you have a cyber breach or some sort of cyber issue, it causes an enormous amount of disruption. So we're seeing cybersecurity incidents leading to disruption. And then also we're seeing the increased sophistication of AI-driven attacks, both from the scalability, the speed that they can go at. And when you look at social engineering, you see very realistic phishing attacks and social engineering. So I think, the attackers are getting smarter. The fact that there's a lot of disruption if there is an attack, those are both areas that indicate that we need to up our game in cyber. And AI is it's the double-edged sword, right? It helps attackers, but it also helps defenders. But there are kind of a few challenges that we run into in the AI front. So one is a lot of the cyber data that we have is not ready for AI. It's unstructured, it's big, it's messy. And a lot of the AI that we see is packaged inside of tools, which is great, but it only does what it does, right? It can't automatically respond to a novel attack. Or if you have a special purpose thing that you need to look for, it might not be able to do that. And it might not, if we're talking about the public sector domain and defense, we may be running in a very secure environment. So you don't want to share your cyber data with a third party. So there's a lot of challenges that we have that AI can address, but the way that we address it maybe needs to be a little bit different in the public sector.
Well, let's dig into this just a bit. Kind of why is that data so important? Kind of what's the value proposition of that?
So the data is a key to defenses. If you can't see it, you can't defend against it. And, the fact that we have so many different data sources, there's like 40, if you look operationally, most enterprises or organizations are operating with 40 different tools. They don't really have a good handle on, one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. There's nowhere to bring them together. If you bring them into a SIM, which is great, it does detections, but those capabilities in terms of the analytics and the amount of data that, the context of data that you can store is kind of limited. So having a data platform that augments your SIM is really important for extending that context, bringing in custom AI or analytics, and being able to really thoroughly investigate cyber attacks, right? So I think, that's an area where we can really improve with data. That like for too long, cyber defenders have really been operating in a world where they've got tools that are kind of strapped together with bubble gum and duct tape. And they're just not, you really have to have a proper data platform to help those cyber defenders.
So talk more about that. Kind of what are the benefits of a data platform? What is it that really allows you to do?
So the data platform allows you to operate on cyber data at all phases, from the collection all the way into real-time detections, event processing, and then also the data warehousing in terms of being able to query data and then being able to eventually do AI on it. So it's really that end-to-end platform that's really important. It's important to have consistent security and governance throughout the entire platform, and having tools in the stack that will work together, right? A lot of times when you try to put together different tools, it's hard to get them to work together. And each tool is kind of very, it operates in its own world and it's difficult to make them work together. So having that end-to-end platform, the consistent security and governance, and then the scalability of being able to work at, I'm starting off at a particular scale and I start to collect more. If you look at cyber log data, you could be bringing in tens of terabytes of data a day, billions of events. So you really need to have a platform that's going to scale up and be cost effective at the same time.
All right, so then let's talk about the subject that we have to talk about, and that's AI. So how does this really kind of support the role of AI in cybersecurity?
So I think in order to be really effective, a team needs to be able to deploy any AI that they need for their detections within their environment. So if you're operating in a kind of run of the mill, maybe small to medium business, and you're doing pretty much the same things as everybody else is doing, then the built-in stuff is going to work perfectly fine for you. And, it's probably not an area where you would want to invest in. But when you get to things in the public sector, in defense, and when you get into these larger enterprises, you have problems and you have tools that are not really well, there's no out of the box solution for you. So really what it is, it's about looking at your landscape, looking for the blind spots, and then building up the technology that you need to fill those blind spots. And that may be, longer context. It may be another detection algorithm. It may be some analysis that you need to do during incident response. And those are all areas where you can take the data platform and you can do all different things with it. You can't, it's not a one purpose tool. It's a proper data platform.
What I want to kind of get at is sort of the art of the possible here. Let's say I'm an agency starting from scratch. And so I'm going to do this right. What does that look like? And kind of give me kind of that kind of hypothetical use case.
So typically we start with collection of data, collection, routing, and filtering. So that's tapping into whatever data sources you have now, logs, even collecting at the edge if you have hard to collect logs, and then building up the cyber data and then preparing it for analytics. So you can do something like SIM optimization. That's usually the first stage that customers do as they intercept their data, they filter it, and they really curate it to send it into their SIM. And what that does is that helps the SIM to run faster, and it also makes it more cost effective. So your detections are running faster, so you're detecting threats more quickly, and then your costs are going to stay at a reasonable level. And then what we typically see customers doing is then once they're intercepting that data, then they will also send it into a security data lakehouse where they can start to prepare the data for incident response, threat hunting, and then AI as well. So, really once the data is prepared, and that's the key with cyber data, it's very messy, it's unstructured, it's not consistent. Putting that data into the data warehouse and then getting into consistent structure is the most important part. And then we also have customers that are leveraging both AI for anomaly detection as well as generative AI. So anomaly detection, AI is very useful for anomaly detection. There's extensive use throughout the industry. And then generative AI is one of the newer areas where we're really seeing um, secure operations centers. They're automating tasks with generative AI that are really just kind of repetitive and then time consuming tasks that AI is really good at. For example, summarizing events and putting those into incident reports. So, really leveraging the AI, generative AI, where it's most helpful. And then as we start to look forward into something like agentic AI, then that's an area where you can start to take autonomous investigations or autonomous responses. So when you're creating the data, That's giving you the foundation, which will then supercharge your AI.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about best practices. Let's say I'm an agency and I'm like, okay, I need to do this. This is really important. What best practices or tips would you offer me?
So I would say the best way to go forward with this is to create a process and to enable the process. So if you just are gonna, one off this or just kind of go with a little bit, then it's probably not going to be as effective as if you create a program, you create a process where you are incrementally adding value. And what you're going to do is you're going to develop a flywheel of of capabilities, right? So the first capability that you're going to do, you're going to pick some data to ingest, and then you're going to start to create a capability, which is probably one of the easier ones. It's not going to be more, the most complex thing you can think of, but it's going to be something that's of high value, that's reasonably easy to deliver. So you're going to start there. You're going to build the capacity of your team. And then as you progress, as you get more data and as you get more skills built up within your team, then your velocity is going to improve, and you're going to be able to churn out these new detections and new investigations and new data products, very easily, because your team is ready to do that. And we've seen this across, basically our whole customer base, right? We've seen organizations that they started out small and then they built up their capabilities within their team, and now they're doing amazing work and amazing, really groundbreaking things. So it's and I one of our industry experts in the financial area, Adrian, he has a great saying that, there was nothing special about his organization. They just put in place the process, they invested in the program, and they got themselves up and running. So it's something that is totally possible. We have many low code, no code tools to help customers along the way. So, and Cloudera is a great partner to work with.
Yeah, well, let's close with that. Talk more about, kind of how can you guys really help?
Yeah, so we meet the customer wherever they are. We have a full complement of, both services, technology, and then advisory that helps customers to be successful. We are tailoring programs to help you be successful both out of the gate to get up and running quickly, as well as to sustain you through production and to help you keep delivering value. So I think that's, it's not just about technology, it's also about enabling the team and then having the support and the advisory that will really help you to be successful and to keep you delivering value. And again, this is you can start at any point within the process, right? You can start, if you already have data, you can start with AI. If you don't have data, you can start collecting it. So it's very flexible and very tailorable to whatever your situation is.
Okay, great. We are out of time, but Carolyn, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great conversation, and I look forward to the next one.